Rain hammered the freight yard as Mick Carter dropped from a boxcar into the dark, hoping his old town might still remember his name kindly. Instead, it greeted him with a body hitting concrete, men in tactical masks turning in perfect silence, and a chase that began before he could even decide whether to run or hide. He ran. Across slick platforms, through chain-link gaps, over rusted catwalks, his hands working on instinct, snatching whatever might matter, noticing what didn't fit, piecing together the shape of trouble as fast as his feet could carry him. A loose wire, a locked door, a bottle strong enough to burn, every object felt like a question waiting for the right moment to become an answer. They caught him at the reservoir. Cold water filled his lungs. The world narrowed, then broke. Mick came back with a violent gasp, alive again, seconds before dying, memory of the future still clawing at his skull. Now every moment was doubled, what had happened, and what could be changed. He moved through the city like a man reading tomorrow's police report in the flicker of neon signs, testing choices, chasing leads, pushing conversations until frightened people slipped and told him more than they meant to. A crooked doctor, a corporation with too much money and too many secrets, something old and patient waiting underneath it all. The city wouldn't let him breathe for long. One minute he was hurling together a weapon from whatever junk lay nearby. The next he was hanging high above the street from a fraying extension cord, shoes scraping concrete, hearing gunshots punch through the night below. And still he kept going. Because dying once is terrifying. Dying twice teaches you to look closer. By the time dawn bled over the skyline, Mick understood the truth. He wasn't just running from murder. He was pulling at a thread tied to conspiracies, ghosts, and a madness that had been waiting 1,000 years for someone desperate enough to survive it. The game The Drifter lets you live inside that same breathless spiral of pursuit, death, and second chances. Its sharp pixel art, tense click and use interactions, and rewind through death hook make every escape feel personal, like you're helping Mick claw his way one step closer to the truth. Rain tapped the office window in tired little rhythms, while Eugene McQuacklin, duck detective, stared at a half-stale loaf and a case no one else wanted. Someone had smuggled fear into an ordinary workplace, and somehow it smelled like deli meat. He waddled in with his coat damp and his pride drier than the bread in his pocket. At first, the office looked harmless, clipped hedges, neat desks, polite smiles. But Eugene knew better. You learn a lot by looking at people really, really hard. A nervous twitch, a missing lunch, a stain on a sleeve. Every face was a locked drawer, and he had a talent for pulling it open. So he made the rounds. A receptionist with a rehearsed smile. An employee talking too fast. A manager who answered simple questions like they were courtroom traps. Eugene listened, squinted, and gathered every odd little detail they accidentally dropped. Names, places, habits, contradictions. Each clue was another scrap in the messy paper nest of his mind. Then came the hard part, making sense of it. Back in his head, the facts didn't line up neatly. They arrived as holes in a sentence, little gaps begging to be filled. Eugene turned each clue over, matched words to motives, and built the truth piece by piece. When one answer fit, another mystery opened. The salami wasn't just missing, it was connected to secrets, lies, and someone desperate enough to hide both. He pressed on, following the trail through suspicious glances and reluctant confessions, until the whole ridiculous conspiracy finally stood there in front of him, naked as a plucked duck. Eugene straightened his hat, pointed a feather at the culprit, and let the truth land with a satisfying thud. Case closed. Now about that bread. Duck detective. The secret salami delivers exactly that kind of cozy, ridiculous mystery, full of sharp dialogue, expressive characters, and a delightfully scruffy detective you'll want to follow to the end. It's satisfying because you're not just watching Eugene piece the case together, you're the one spotting suspicious details, connecting clues, and helping the truth click into place. Windswept, one storm, two best friends, and a long way home through a world that refuses to make it easy. In Windswept, a violent storm throws Marbles the duck and Checkers the turtle far from home, dropping them into a bright, chaotic world full of cliffs, secrets, hazards, and platforming challenges. From that moment on, the whole adventure becomes about one thing. Keep moving, keep jumping, and somehow find your way back. The fun here comes from the way movement drives everything. Each stretch of the world asks you to read the terrain, line up jumps, keep your momentum, and commit. Some sections reward speed, others punish sloppy timing. And just when you think you should stick to the main route, the game starts tempting you with hidden collectibles, risky detours, and secret paths that practically dare you to go off course. That's where the adventure really clicks. It's not just about reaching the end of a level, it's about mastering the route and deciding how much you want to chase everything tucked away inside it. And if you're playing with someone else, that journey gets even better, because it turns a simple trip home into a shared scramble through colorful chaos. Underneath all the bouncing, climbing, and exploring, there's a simple, charming heart to it. Two friends get blown away from the life they know, and the only answer is to keep going. Every clean landing, every hidden find, every hard section you finally overcome feels like one more step toward making things right again. Windswept is a great pick for players who love cheerful but challenging platformers with strong momentum and lots to discover. The co-op angle, hidden secrets, and satisfying movement make this game feel like a fun, energetic journey instead of just a straight run to the finish. Getting blown off course is easy. Landing on your feet is the real adventure. On the morning, Mira became the unofficial peacemaker of the city. It started with a bus. A woman in sunglasses refused to sit near anyone noisy. A student wanted the window. A man with a gym bag needed extra space. Another passenger frowned at the only open seat because it was too close to someone eating chips. Mira stood in the aisle, studying the rows like they were a secret code. One by one, she shifted people around until the complaints stopped. A little thumbs up flashed in her mind with every satisfied face. That should have been the end of it. But then there was a movie theater, where a couple wanted to sit together. Someone tall blocked another person's view, and a chronic phone checker threatened to ruin the whole row. Then a classroom, then a wedding, then stranger spaces in stranger cities, each one filled with people carrying tiny, stubborn rules about comfort, smell, light, distance, friendship, and personal space. Mira learned to read a room before anyone said a word. She noticed which seats had the best view, which corners felt safe, which spots came with power outlets or standing room, and how one person's habits could ripple outward and bother 3 others at once. Sometimes she could nudge the environment too, adjust a light, move an object, open up a better option no one had noticed. The funny thing was, perfection wasn't always required. Sometimes good enough kept the day moving, and that felt human too. There could be more than one right arrangement, more than one way to leave most people happy. And somewhere between buses and auditoriums, between awkward strangers and impossible preferences, Mira realized she wasn't just finding seats. She was finding where people fit. The game, Is This Seat Taken?, turns that feeling of Mira's quiet talent for placing people where they belong into something charming and deeply satisfying. It's the kind of experience that makes you feel clever without pressure, inviting you to solve small social dilemmas with warmth, humor, and the simple pleasure of making everything click into place. On the evening of October 29, 1897, Declan Ward arrived at Blake Manor with rain on his coat and a name in his pocket. Evelyn Dean, missing, presumed hidden somewhere behind the manor's polished doors and practiced smiles. The staff insisted nothing was wrong. The guests, gathered for a grand séance on the edge of All Hallows' Eve, spoke in half-truths and holy whispers. Mystics from distant places drifted through candlelit halls, each with a story, each with a secret, each moving through the house according to rhythms Declan would have to learn before the night swallowed them whole. So he listened. He questioned a widow in the drawing room while the clock still allowed it. He cornered a trembling servant in the corridor before she vanished into her duties. He marked every contradiction, every motive, every strange detail in his journal, building a web of names, suspicions, and hidden connections. When a lie finally showed its seams, he pressed harder, confronting the guilty with the shape of their own intentions. But Blake Manor did not wait politely to be solved. Every step forward spent precious time. A door opened in 1 hour and stayed locked in the next. A whispered exchange in the hall could be missed forever by lingering too long in the library. To find the truth, Declan had to be exactly where the house wanted him least, watching, noting, choosing, and the manor itself resisted him. Its corridors concealed forbidden rooms. Its walls held environmental traces more honest than any witness. Disturbed objects, overlooked passageways, spaces that seemed to exist halfway between this world and another. The deeper Declan went, the more the investigation became something stranger than a missing persons case. It became a race through schedules, secrets, and supernatural unrest, where observation mattered as much as courage. By night's end, he would not merely ask who took Evelyn Dean. He would have to decide which clues to follow, which people to accuse, which moments were too important to lose, and whether Blake Manor was hiding a crime, a ritual, or a door best left unopened. The game, the séance of Blake Manor, pulls you into a candlelit mansion full of suspects, shifting opportunities, and secrets that won't wait for you to catch up. It's a great pick for anyone who enjoys unraveling a gothic mystery through observation, choice, and careful deduction, where the tension comes from feeling like you're truly racing the house itself for the truth. I took the night shift because no one else wanted it. The office sat high above the city, all humming lights and stained carpet, a place where lost things came to wait. My title was Data Conversion Operator, which sounded important until I saw what the job really was. Image after image on a dim terminal, scraps of envelopes, torn labels, water-warped letters, each one needing someone to stare long enough to turn damage into words. So I typed. Street names with half the letters missing, apologies smudged into ghosts. birthday cards that looked like they'd been dredged from a river. The screen would show me some ruined fragment, and I'd lean in, hunting for shapes in the blur, pressing keys slowly, carefully, like I was restoring a stranger's memory one character at a time. At first it felt mechanical. Clock in, read what could still be read, fill the blanks if the clues were kind, move to the next piece of dead mail. Then the letters changed. Some seemed too personal, too precise, as if they hadn't been lost at all, only redirected. A note with my apartment number buried in a paragraph, a postcard describing the exact crack in my bedroom ceiling, memos that arrived mangled and unreadable until I typed the right sequence, and then suddenly the meaning snapped into focus like something waking up. The work became a rhythm of doubt. Was that an E or an F? Was the stain hiding a name, or protecting it? Every entry felt like a decision with consequences I couldn't see. The more I processed, the more the pile seemed to notice me back. And the worst part was how ordinary it all remained. No alarms, no monster clawing through the walls. Just the soft clatter of keys, the oppressive drone of office air, and document after document asking to be understood. Somewhere in that mountain of undelivered lives were secrets, patterns, warnings, pieces that shifted depending on what I caught, what I missed, what I chose to believe. By the end of the shift, I understood the real horror of the job, not that the letters were dead, but that some of them were still trying very hard to reach me. The game, Dead Letter Detect, delivers the same quiet dread through intimate, hands-on document work that makes every typo, guess, and recovered detail feel personal. It's compelling for anyone who loves slow-burn horror, immersive atmosphere, and the creeping sensation that an ordinary desk job is becoming something that knows your name. The night the Rootries died, the whole internet seemed to blink and hold its breath. I was alone at my desk, lit by the glow of an aging monitor, staring at a scatter of names, dates, and half-remembered faces. The Rootry family wasn't just wealthy, they were tangled, sprawling, the kind of dynasty that left roots in every company, every charity board, every dusty newspaper archive. And now, after the crash, all that remained was a question no one else seemed able to answer clearly. Who belonged where? At first, it looked simple. A daughter here, a brother there. A marriage announcement from 20 years ago tucked into a society column. But every answer opened into 3 more questions. I found myself digging through old magazine clippings, public records, forgotten interviews, and brittle photographs, comparing a smile in one image to a portrait in another, matching surnames, tracing inheritances, following tiny inconsistencies like footprints through mud. The deeper I went, the stranger it became. Branches of the family tree twisted back on themselves, nicknames disguised identities. Divorces, remarriages, hidden connections, every new discovery shifted the shape of the whole puzzle. I'd pin one person into place, certain at last, only to uncover a document that forced me to pull everything apart and rebuild it from the trunk upward. And that was the thrill of it, not action, not spectacle, but the slow, obsessive satisfaction of turning confusion into order. Every scrap of evidence mattered. Every correct connection felt earned. The story didn't come to me in a straight line. I had to assemble it, piece by piece, until the dead began to speak through records they'd left behind. By dawn, my desk was a map of relationships, secrets, and consequences. The Rootries were still dead. That much hadn't changed. But now, at last, I understood how they had lived, and how all the people orbiting them fit into the shape of their absence. The game The Rootries Are Dead draws you into the pleasure of sifting through scattered clues, testing your hunches, and slowly making sense of a family history built on secrets. It's perfect for anyone who loves detective fiction, archival mystery, and the satisfying click of realizing how every person, document, and revelation connects.